Here in Vici, cleanup continues after 30 homes were destroyed by the wildfires, including this one right here. Off in the distance, those wildfires continue to rage. Just outside of nearby Canton, the wildfires burned out of control today. Firefighters fought back from the ground and from the air. But the high winds and dry conditions made it a losing battle. Just holding the line was an impossible task. Carolyn Clem of Vici can see the plume of smoke from the fires from her home, the same fires that damaged her home over the weekend, and did this while she slept.
I had gone to bed and was not even aware there was a fire. And my cousin called and said, "Should I come get you?" And I said, "Why?" And she said, "There's a fire." And I got up and I looked out.
Just in time, too. State police had to come and rescue her.
Tractor burned. The cattle are all okay. They got down by the pond. The fire burned right up to the front door and melted the siding.
This melted siding shows just how hot the fire was and just how close it came to the house. Ms. Clem said it stopped just feet away. Ms. Clem says in all of her years here, she's never seen anything like this before.
No, and I don't ever want to again.
Now, we talked with the folks in Vici who are working to help out the victims of the fire. They say they've been overwhelmed with donations. At this point, they say they've got too many donations of clothing and food, and right now they say they just need money. The school district here in Vici is collecting money. You can contact them to help out. On the scene, on the story in Vici, Aaron Brillbeck, News on 6.
News 9's Aaron Brillbeck is live at the Capitol with more.
Yeah, state lawmakers have a lot of balls in the air right now. They're trying to fill a massive hole in this year's budget, an even bigger hole in next year's budget, and they have to come up with a steady revenue source so we don't have these problems in the future. It's a lot to try to juggle.
71 aye, 27 nay.
Because lawmakers passed an unconstitutional tax on tobacco last year, they still have to fill a $65 million budget hole this year. The state may also have to pay an additional $75 million to medical colleges in the state for graduate medical education benefits through the Health Care Authority. Going into next year, the state faces a budget deficit of somewhere between $250 and $650 million. It's hard to say for sure until we know how much the state has brought in tax collections. During the governor's final State of the State address of her career,
of course, my big focus this year is going to be on solving the budget crisis, putting us on a stable path forward, giving us some predictability, getting rid of the uncertainty we've been experiencing for the last many years.
Specifically, the governor will urge lawmakers to back the so-called Step Up OK plan. That's a combination of revenue raisers and government reforms proposed by a group of business and community leaders. The revenue raisers include an increase in taxes on tobacco, gasoline and diesel fuel, and the production of oil and natural gas called gross production. The governor wants voters on board.
Step up, talk to your legislators, tell them, fix these issues. We have a plan that is bipartisan, is brought everybody to the table. There are things in there I don't like, things in there I do like.
The number one plan the governor likes?
And of course the teacher pay raise is a big thing. I think it'll go a long ways if we can give a $5,000 pay raise to our teachers, because education is the key to success in our state.
The changes proposed by Step Up OK would bring in about $750 million in new revenues each year, with about $285 million of that going to provide $5,000 annual raises for teachers and principals. We're live on the scene on the story at the state capitol. Aaron Brillbeck, News 9.
News 9's Aaron Brillbeck is on the story from Garvin County.
And all 19 of the big cats were brought here to Wynnewood. They're in very good shape. You can tell by the claw marks all over my shirt and the mud that they're very playful too. They were brought here against PETA's wishes and against Florida's wishes.
The
Tigers are definitely playful.
In our name? Quit. That one got you. We're going to have to edit some of this out.
They were brought to the Wynnewood Exotic Animal Park this past Sunday after they were removed from a facility in Florida. Last Friday, a federal judge ordered the Florida facility not to remove the animals until after the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals had a chance to examine the zoo. The tigers were transported anyhow. You're not worried right now about this whole PETA thing, about this whole injunction?
No. Come here. No, not at all. You know, we had nothing to do with the court order. Come here. What are you doing?
The Florida Zoo has a history of animal welfare violations, more than 40 of them in the past 7 years. Wynnewood Exotic Animal Park owner Joe Exotic says the tigers seem to be well cared for there.
It was a very clean facility. Animals were cared for. As you can tell, they're not skinny, they're not starved.
One of the tigers gave birth en route to Wynnewood, but the 3 cubs died. Exotic says the others could have met the same fate if they'd have stayed in Florida. If you hadn't taken these guys in, what would have happened?
They probably would have been euthanized. As far as I'm concerned, the 19 cats are here. They're enjoying life, as you can tell, and they're here to stay.
On the scene, on the story in Wynnewood, Aaron Brobeck, News 9.
Well, we are keeping an eye on the weather across the state. Many people will be traveling home from their holiday trips to prepare for the week ahead. And poor News 9's Aaron Brobeck and Andy Hargrave are out there in these brutal conditions and have a look at the roads today. Thanks for doing this, guys.
Our pleasure. Well, you hit it right on the head. The conditions really are bitter. And the story right now here in Yukon is still this very, very powerful wind. It's everywhere from 30 miles per hour to 40 mile per hour gusts. Very powerful. The rain is kind of come and go. We've seen it very strong, and then at other times just a very, very light rain. Right now it's kind of somewhere in between. But the problem with this rain coming down is the temperature continues to drop. Right now it's hovering right around 32 degrees. We're starting to see some pretty serious freezing, more so right now on some of the grassy areas and on some of the trees, but the roads are starting to get a little bit of ice on them, and that's going to be a problem as folks are moving further west along I-40. We're seeing a lot of trucks heading down in that direction, and obviously from our storm spotters, we're seeing a lot of trucks on the sides of the roads and in the ditches. So obviously take it very, very carefully, very, very slowly, especially as you're going on those bridges and overpasses. Again, not real slick right here in Yukon, but as you move further west, it gets much, much slicker. We're live in Yukon. Aaron Brobeck, News 9.
Thank you for braving the elements, Aaron.
And keep in mind, too, this is the Senate running this. It still has to pass by the House. The House said they're not going to approve anything unless it includes a 5% tax on gross production, the production of oil and natural gas. So my question for the Senate leadership is this just a dog and pony show?
This is not for show. This is a real solution to the issue.
But if you had the same conversations I had with House Democrats, you know they're not going to back it, and you know you need House Democrats.
23 House Democrats voted for this in November. If they've decided that the teacher pay raises are not as important as playing politics, that's their decision.
So this sort of came out of the blue Wednesday night without a whole lot of forewarning.
No warning at all.
And then the next day, the House leadership announced their own plan, this 60 and 6 plan.
60 and 6 plan, and essentially what that is, that's a tiered plan. So the more years that you work as a teacher, the more money that you make. The only problem with this, well, they said that what it's going to wind up doing is it's going to give teachers among the highest pay raise in the entire nation, which is great.
Implement it, it'll move Oklahoma from the back of the heat all the way up to 18th in the country in pay and number 3 in the country when you adjust for cost of living. Here's
the downside. They didn't say how they're going to pay for it. So we've got this massive $700 million plan. Hey, it's a great idea. Teachers are going to get pay. We just don't know how we're going to pay for it.